Hey everybody, it is time for this week's Mayday Monday, and I have got something really amazing for you today. I know that sometimes when you do the same thing over and over again, it can get really boring. It does that for me too. Sometimes I like to spice up and toss in some interesting things. And what I have for you today, I guarantee you've never done it before, unless you're an avid paper crafter. This is something that a lot of people would consider advanced, but it's really not. I know how to break it down, how to make it fun, how to make it easy, how to make it success for you, for your little journal that we're building. I will show you one of the things earlier when I made my little in between videos between my Mayday Monday. I released one on Saturday, and it was it explained and showed some artwork that I had found, and I think I showed you a picture of this adorable little puppy that I was planning on using in one of the models. And I may have mentioned these things that I found that have the papers that have these beautiful little puppies and kittens that I used on that. So I am going to show you what I did and what we're going to do today. This is the envelope that I did with the darling little puppy on the front. I did decide that what I wanted to do was make this an envelope so that the journal card, when it goes in, will not matter what's on the journal card. You will always see this cute little pup. And the reason for that is because the design on the back is specifically for puppies and kittens. And I will show you that design now, and it is utterly amazing. Get a load of this. Okay, that's the flap. We'll get that out of the way. Move it out of the way. But this is really, really clever. There are six, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, there's 6 little pictures on here with puppies and kittens, and they have these darling little frames. And I used some really pretty print to put down below it. And there's a tab here. And the reason there is a tab here is because, let me make sure I'm completely in frame, because you're going to want to see this. This is it's called a waterfall. And it goes up, and then it goes back. Just like that. Is that cool or what? I just loved them. I've seen these for ages. I mean, literally years I've seen these. And I've just never bothered to take the time to find out how to make one. So I thought, you know, I'm going to do that this week. So I sat down with a video, and I'll tell you where I went. Because it was a place that it was just the first video I saw of it. So it wasn't like somebody I knew. And it's called Create with Spudge, Squudge, S-Q-U-D-G-E, craft. Create with Squudge, craft. Anyway, I'd never seen it before. First time I've ever seen. While I'm at it, I need to subscribe so I can find them again. So I'm going to do the subscribe and hit the little bell so I'll get all notifications. Choose all. So now I'm going to find out about these people. But anyway, I will link that person down in my links, you know, on the post where I'm continuing to build links for people to see places to go to look at videos, because she seemed to do a pretty good job at this. I was able to follow along and with minimal need figure out what she was doing. So that was a good thing. And I wanted to share with you because it was just absolutely amazing to do this. So this is our little prototype here. And this is actually going to go in my journal because this is something I wanted to do. Like I said, this is something I've been wanting to do for ages. So the envelope has this adorable little guy on the front, and then it'll have the pocket where you have your journal cards inside, and then you'll have on the outside, on the back, this adorable thing. One thing that you can do with these, on the backs of these, see how they're folding backwards? One thing that you can do on the backs of these is you can actually put little squares of paper for you to write on. Not everybody does that, but some people do that. I didn't choose to do that because I was just having fun with my little puppies and kittens and having a great time. So this was really fun to make. It was not that hard to make. It's very simple instructions, and I'm going to give them to you the same way she gave them to me. And actually, I may even stop for a moment here and there and consult with hers if I have anything I don't remember for sure about. But I think I've got it pretty well down to pat. What you do is you take your envelope. And this is what I'm going to do today. I'm going to use, this is part of that same thing with the puppies and kittens. Remember I said that I got all of them and I thought I was only getting puppies and kittens? Well, this is some of the little birds. This is one of the pages of the little birds. So there's little birds, bunny rabbits, tons of butterflies, puppies, kittens, horses, and there's dragonflies. So there's 7 different animals that this kit contains of sheets, and multiple sheets. There's a total of 30 sheets. So with 7 different animals on them. So there's multiple things, especially butterflies. God, there's a ton of butterflies. And there's also a ton of puppies and kittens. So, but there was like 4 pages of birds. I think 2 or 3 pages of bunnies, and 2 pages of horses, and 1 page only of dragonflies. That was a little disappointing, but it was a beautiful page. 1 page of dragonflies. Trying to think. Anyway, there's a bunch of different animals on here, and it's one of those, when you look it up, you will not be disappointed if you decide to buy it. I was impressed with my $2.60 some odd cents. So, what we're going to do is, this is extra. I don't need this actually. What we're going to do is, we're going to look at all these different pieces, and I'm going to explain what we're doing with them. And I got to find what I did with my envelope, because I don't see my envelope here. Hang on a second. Hang on a second. Let me find where I put my envelope. Okay, I'm back again. I found it. It was just right under, when I put the other envelopes away, I accidentally picked this one up as well. This envelope, I don't have a picture for this side yet. I already had this paper in it, so that when somebody takes it out, it'll be a pretty design. So what I'm going to do with this is I am just going to go ahead and leave this side unfinished until I tried to find the right kind of bird to go in here, and I haven't found one that fits correctly for this window. And in the way that I'm doing it, the other one, I put it in, you know, as a part of the window here. This one, I still want to have my scenery here showing through when they pull the card out. So the one for that one is going to be done as part of the journal card, not as part of this. So that'll be on the flip side. We'll do that later because we're going to get to the journal cards later. I want to get the backs of each envelope and the interior decided on for each of these, and then we'll go in and start doing the journal cards. Okay, so what you do is, first of all, you want to measure your envelope. And we are going to do this very carefully because we want it to be correct. And we're going to measure right up here to where you see there's a little crease here. That's not envelope. That is the back here. And that's part of the thing. So the easiest way to do it is to fold that over and get it out of your way so you're not working with it. And then sit it down here and measure it out, and it is measuring out right at 4 inches. Right at 4 inches. And then this width on this envelope, hang on, I got to run with a slightly bigger ruler. Okay, so bigger ruler. We have got, this envelope is measuring right at 8 inches. So we've got 4 by 8 for what we're going to be using for our base for a design. Now, what we need to do is, the first thing we want to do is to create a base, like I did with this one. I'll be using this one for reference frequently throughout this. But you see, I put this paper down as a base for the whole thing. And that's like that. So we want to choose, and I went through, I showed you all that stack of paper that I had pulled out as possibilities. Well, I've got a long way to go of making things, so this is just one of those. This hit my eye. I liked this paper, and then I came across this paper, which is also a lightweight cardstock. It's not copy paper, it's a lightweight cardstock. So what I did was, I pulled this paper out to work with, and then this cardstock out to also work with. And So that's going to be my, in the way that you see this one, the base here and the little squares here. This is the base, this is the little squares. So that gives you an idea of where we're going. All right, for the base, we need a 4x8 piece of paper. So I pull out my paper cutter from here, set it down, hold my thing over here. Let me see if you can see. I want to get in frame when I'm measuring here. Let me get in frame for this. Okay. 1 second. Let me pull this out. These things look like they're really short, but in fact, they've just got a ruler tucked away underneath them. So I want to look at this. I need 4 inches by 8 inches. So I'm going to pull the paper down here because this is where you're measuring from. And I want to keep that up here. I'm going to pull it down to right at, this is 4 inches is right there. This is hard to see from here. It's small writing on this thing. But 4 inches is right there. I make sure that it lines up all the way down so that it's looking like it's the same, so that my paper will not be crooked. And I want to get that fixed because it's a little bit off. Let me undo this so I can get it fixed so it's correct all the way down. Yeah, that looks, crap. I just undid it again. Okay, that looks pretty good right there. And then I'm going to flip the thing down so it'll hold on to it. Pardon me while I scoot this down to a flat surface. And then I'm going to do 4 inches for paper. And I'm using both of my little things here, top and bottom, because this is a 12-inch square paper. And 12 inches is the maximum that this thing will cut. So that's when you do a maximum of what it'll cut, you have to use the one on this end and the one up on this end to make sure that you don't have a little tidbit that doesn't get cut. So here's my 4 inches wide paper. Now I'm going to choose this side. I just like the color of it, that little splash of the darker blue in there. And you're going to go through here, and now you're going to measure out 8 inches. Am I in frame? Yes. Okay. Now you're going to measure out 8 inches, and right here is 8 inches. So we line that up correctly. You make sure that it's lined up. There's a little ridge here and a little ridge here. You want your paper to be sitting on the inside of that ridge. Then you get it lined up to your length. That little ridge ensures when you tuck it down on both sides, that ensures that your paper is being cut straight. So you want to make sure it's cut straight. And then you gently press down. This is an extra piece. We'll set this aside also. Because these extra pieces that we have, it's part of things that we will use in other things. And that'll tie different pages together with different colors. And that's just part of bringing continuity to your book. When you have a book, you can do it many different ways. By the way, I hope everyone is feeling well this Monday morning. I will see how I'm feeling. I'm doing this on Sunday evening. And my old truck, I've got a 1999 Silverado. And bless its little heart, it has some issues sometimes. There was a switch. It's a 4-wheel drive. And two, you can switch it between 4 and 2-wheel drive. And there's a switch up on the dash that you push whatever button it is you're wanting. There's like a 2-wheel drive high and a 4-wheel drive high, and there's a 4-wheel drive low, and there's also an auto 4-wheel drive to 2-wheel drive. So usually I drive it on 2-wheel drive high. And that's the, because I don't want it going into 4-wheel drive every time I turn around. If I want it to go into 4-wheel drive, I'll put it in 4-wheel drive. Otherwise, I'll hit that auto thing. But anyway, for some reason, that switch, I think it's been probably a year and a half ago or so, it started one day, it was like short-circuiting. And it was making this clicking sound continuously, and I couldn't figure out, I could figure out kind of where it was coming from, but what I couldn't figure out is how the heck I was going to fix it. And so I just went in and got the hang on, I'm looking at something. This is going to be on the right side, and it's going to come this direction. Okay, so the inside of this is going to be folding around. I may have to recut this. I measured at 4 inches, but that's not 4 inches. Or either that or I measured wrong, one or the other. This is why you keep your extra paper close by. This is just not right. I don't have enough paper. So I'm going to redo this. And this is one of those things. I could fix it another way, but I just am choosing to make my paper a little bit bigger. And if I need to trim a little bit off, I'll trim a little bit off. I don't have 8 inches that way. I have 8 inches this way, though. Hang on. 8 inches. And I'm going to go up to like 8 1/4. Yeah, I'm going to go up to 8 1/4. And that'll cover whatever I'm missing there just fine. But let's see if I can do this now. You didn't cut right. Left a little honky piece there. I don't know why you did that. Okay, anyway, it's all right for now. I'll put that up against the inside. So now this piece, I need it to be, and I'm going to do the same thing with the 4 inches wide. I'm going to go like 4 1/4. And just to make sure. Yeah, that's right. I'm going to do 4 1/4, and then I'll trim it down to however I need. All right, this is a little bit bigger than that one. And actually, it's funny because as I look at them, I can see how much bigger this is. I don't know if I even did this right. That doesn't look right on this. That's a lot wider than this. So we shall see. We'll see how much I have to trim off of it. But I just didn't want it to be too short. This one I'll use somewhere else. Like I said, this is all recyclable. Paper is never, unless you've got bits like this, you know, itty bitty bits like these, hang on, like that. I throw those away, but anything much bigger than that, I keep them. I mean, unless it's just junk paper, like, you know, plain white paper or something, where I might not use it as much. But if it's a colored paper, you bet I'm keeping that, because it may be a good trim or something for, you know, to be used for another project. And that is something that you can always do. Okay, what I'm going to do this time now that we're back on this page, I am going to put this right up against this fold, because I want it to be where the writing that's here will have a minimal amount of opportunity to show anywhere. This is going to go around the back of the page, and you're going to open it up like this. Oh, wait a minute. Yeah, that's right. This is going to go around to the back of the page, and it's going to open backwards and forwards. This will be the front. This will be the back from the way that I'm looking at it. At least I think, no, this is going to be the front. That's going to be the back. But anyway, I want to try to cover up as much of this writing here as I can so that it doesn't show up. It won't on the hinge, but I just like being safe. So I'm going to come here, I'm going to flip this over, and I'm going to look at it, and it moved. So I'm going to come here, and I'm going to take this, and I'm going to tap these together. That'll fix it in the right spot. Then, after it's tapped together like that, I'm going to make a pencil mark with my pencil. Here it is, it's hiding. I'm going to make a pencil mark here, like right here at this top corner, right there, and down at the bottom corner, right there. And then I'm going to put it back in my trimmer, and I'm using that to give me my guide for where to trim, so that we actually made the measurement with the back turned around, providing the full size of this, excuse me, this way, and the full size of it, and then we stick it like this, and I can look through the light and see that those lines are in the right space, and I can look here and see that this is lined up correctly here also. So that should be appropriate trimming, and it was just a hair off. I mean, it was only like a 1/16 of an inch or less, might have been even a 32nd of an inch that it was off, but that little bit would have bugged me all day long, because that's something that, you know, it's just something that I watch. I don't know, is it the Virgo in me or what? Because I am definitely, when it comes to things like this, sometimes, now if I make a mistake, it is no big deal. I can fix it. I'll show you one that I made actually on the other one. And I fixed it. No big deal. Didn't even worry me for a minute. On this one, right... Hang on. Let me just do this the right way. On this one, right here. Hang on. On this one right here. That's it. The next to the last one. When I flipped this up, I was not aware of it when I made it. I didn't notice it. But there was a sticker on the back from the store where I bought it. And I was like, oh my gosh, that's, you know, we can't go there. Can't do it. And it was a white sticker. You can see the tiniest bit of it down here, which is not the end of the world. But it was this big old white sticker. I mean, it was taking up a huge chunk of this. And I thought, okay, what do I want to do? And so I cut a piece exactly the right size for this. And I sat down and I very gently glued it on and glued it in place and left it there until it dried before I did anything else with this whole deal. And it worked just fine. You can't even see that I had an error there. So yeah, there's nothing that you can't fix. I mean, anybody that tells you ain't nothing you can't fix has just not been there yet. They haven't found, you know, the right way to fix things, evidently. So now this is able to be put on the back of this page. And I'm going to go ahead, actually, before I do that, you see this little flip-floppy end right here? I want to glue that down before I glue the page to it, because if I glue the page and it's glued to this, the page and it will come up because it's not secure. So I want to, and you don't put the glue on the envelope because there's no way for you to get to the edge safely. You don't know where the edge is going. It may not land exactly where you think it is. So we're going to take the glue and put a little bit of glue on this. Not a lot, just enough to secure it down so it won't be a bother to anybody. And we're going to put it here. And we're going to smush it over there. And that's going to be, oops, didn't mean to smush it and unsmush it. Going to smush it down there like so. And it'll get out of the way. The other thing you want to do after you do that, in case any glue came out when you put it down like that, you want to make sure that you bring this out and you gently rub and make sure there's no glue in there to stick. You might even want to hold it for a second and just make sure that there's plenty of time. I can feel just the tiniest bit of glue right there. So I want to wait until that glue dries before I do anything else in this. And we are going to use this handy dandy cord. So I'm going to park it like that. And that way I don't have to wait for it to finish drying. It can sit right there and continue to dry. Where in the world did that vitamin come from? Oh well. Okay, so we've got this cut to the correct size, and we will put that on there in a little bit. Next thing to do is we need to make our little squares that we have here. These little squares. Now, these little squares, for me, in the puppies and kittens, they're 3-inch square. What you need to do is look at whatever it is you're putting in the middle of them. This is my squares for the birds. I need to look at these and see how they measure, you know, how they measure out. And see if they're the same. I'm assuming they're the same. The way they look, they ought to be the same. But it doesn't always work that way. When you're creating art, it doesn't always go that way. Okay, this is 2 7/8. All right. What is this up here? We'll say, what's on this next column? This next column, that can't be right. That's way different. This next column is like 2 and under 2.5. Dang. And then this column is back to 2 7/8. And this column is back to just under 2.5. Okay, yeah, so every other column is a different size. So when I look at it, I got to look at this. Actually, I'm going to cut these out and take a look at these on the, on the paper and just see how big they fit. And I've got to take in consideration my envelope as well when you're looking at dimensions. You got to take that into consideration as well. Let me get this down here. Once again, this time I'm not measuring. I'm trimming off this white thing. So the white margin is my guide instead of a measurement. I'm just trying to clear the white margins. And you can see here Hang on. Can you see good? Hang on, I'm looking. Okay, you can see right here, you've got the little tray, the little trough that the cutter goes through. And so that's what you line up your paper with, so that it will cut where that little trough is. And you want it to be lined up so that the edge here is going to be protected, but not too much. And you got to line it up here too. And there's what I would suggest if you're doing this, that you'd want to bring the bigger piece out, because it extends. If I can get it out. Hang on, I can't see what I'm doing, so it's kind of hard to do this. Oh, it was in the wrong place, no wonder. Because when you do this and you pull this extension out, it gives you a really large flat surface with an edge to keep the paper straight. So when you slide it up in here on this side to the correct place, it'll bring the top side so that it's the correct place on the top side too. You just gently hold it, line it up, and it should have the correct place up here as well as down there. Now when I'm doing this, sometimes I'll put it just a hair to the outside of what I'm cutting to make sure that I don't cut into any squares. And this cut slightly into the square, and that's all right. Not a big deal. As you can see, just the tiniest hair, and that is not a big deal. Get that out of the way. And then we're going to do the same thing again here, because you don't want the white edge on here. You want a nice color edge there, not the white one. Why is that going down so weird? That's odd. That's why. It's crimping that paper. I knew something was wrong. It didn't feel right. There now. Okay, this is lined up, and it is lined up there. Now we just trim that right off. If you want to buy a few supplies, a little paper cutter like this is not that expensive. You cannot replace these blades on this thing. In some brands, you can take the blades out. Like my other cutter, it's bigger, and you can take the blades out and buy replacement blades for it. I don't see how you can take the blades out of this thing. If there's a way to do it, I haven't figured it out yet. I would love it if there was, because I actually like this cutter a little better than I do my other one. But the other one, you can buy replacement blades, and you can also get scoring blades for it. And so that's super handy. So instead, if you buy one and you want to buy it like my other one, I'll have to figure out where I put my other one. I stuck it out of the way because I wasn't using it. Okay. Sorry. Does your craft room ever eat things? Mine definitely does. It just munches on stuff and hides it from me. And then after I'm done looking for it, let's be like, hi, here I am. And I'm going, what the heck? Anyway, let's do this, and we'll look at that later. Right now, I want to do this and get it done correctly. So we're going to trim these edges off. And then after we trim off the edges, we're going to cut these birds up into the way that they are made correctly. And then once we get them cut up, that will help us to figure out how to place them. With the cats and the dogs, I had so many things to choose from. It was ridiculous. There's a lot of birds, too. So we may end up, you know, there might be a different bird set that we need to print and do to make the settings work correctly. Okay, so there's that one. And I'm going to come in here and do this one. All right. That one, and that's 3 sets of these. Now I need to just go in here and cut them up. And what we want to do is set this up so that the square that we make for these to sit on will be appropriate for all of the birds, because you're going to have the same size squares all the way down, and that's very important that you have the same size squares for both of them. That's the reason for that is for the waterfall to work, you need these squares that we're working on right now. These squares need to all be exactly the same. As you see, they all line up. And when we do the waterfall, because they all line up, it looks nice when they do the waterfall. And if they were all different sizes, it would be wonky. So you don't want it to be wonky. You want it to have all the same size on that. And that's what we're looking at right now. I need to take all of these apart and just make sure what's going to look okay in each of the different sizes, since there are apparently 2 different sizes that I could tell for sure just looking at them real quick. These may measure out slightly different in height too, so I want to accommodate the largest ones. And some of them may be slightly smaller, and that's not a big deal. Once again, it is, you know, as Bob Ross used to say, we just have happy accidents. I loved Bob Ross. God, I watched him all the time when I was a kid. I have never had a paintbrush in my hand to do anything but scribble. And I would love to learn how to paint one day. That's one of my bucket list things. I want to learn how to paint. And I don't mean houses. I want to actually learn how to put brush to paper and paint. I would also like to learn to draw too, while I'm at it. Okay, here we go. We're almost done here. And I'm sorry, I'm doing this so you can get a feel for how long it takes to do this as well. I don't want you to be like, well, you did it in 10 minutes on the video, and it's taken me 2 hours or longer, depending on how good you are at picking your papers. Okay, now we're going to, for a moment, set this aside, and we're going to look at our little papers. With a 4-inch wide envelope, we don't have a huge amount of room to work with. Okay, that's dry now. So, if this is a 4-inch envelope, and we have got, what we have to do is have this, the waterfall is going to be in the middle, but you also have to have enough room left to, as you can see, put down these 2 things. And these 2 things are what keeps it going together, so it allows it to do, you know, allows it to go back and forth. If you could see underneath here, there is this thing coming across. Well, on the bottom part, these 2 end pieces are put down against the envelope. The other piece here, the cards, this is glued to the top of that strip going this way in the middle. And the combination of those 2 things is what allows it to go back and forth. But it has to be, you know, it has to have enough space for these 2 edges to be put down. So you can't like carry your waterfall all the way over to here. You've got to keep it within reason so that those 2 pieces can be put down and be secured with enough strength to hold all of this in place and to support the movement of the waterfall. So that's why all this is, it's actually, it is a little bit intricate, but it's not terrible. It's just, you know, things that you got to realize and understand why you're doing them. And once you understand why you're doing them, then you'll be just fine, you know? You can do this just fine. Once you understand the basic reasoning behind it, then it's not hard to do it all. Okay, so let's do one just for giggles. Let's take this, and we're going to cut. The ones I did here were 3 inches, and I think a 3-inch square is going to be about as big as we want to go with this, because you kind of need that 1/2 inch on either side to set down that that base. So let's cut up some 3-inch squares, just 1 row of them, and see what they look like. Okay, we'll come here to 3 inches, and we line ourselves up, and it's a little bit off there. Hang on. Okay, we got it. Now, let's cut this, and you've got a row here, 3 inches, and let's make these into 3-inch squares. We can get a few of them out of here. We don't want anything smaller than 3 inches, because that one that's 2 7/8, or whatever it is, we may have to trim a tiny bit off of that one to make it fit better. But this is, you know, so we want these. And cut this one to 3 inches. And this is the only place where your measuring needs to be accurate, because you need all of these to be the same size. They're going to be about a 1/2 inch apart, but you need them to be the same size so that your waterfall functions correctly. And we don't have 3 inches left, so this piece goes aside as a scrap piece and to be used in the future. So I cut up one little set of these, and let's see how these things look on them. I'm going to set down the 3 pieces. Where's the third one? Didn't I make 3? Oh, well, whatever. I guess I just thought I did. That's right, 3 wouldn't come out of it. Never mind. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay these down and just see how they look on it. Try to kind of center them on there and see how they look. Here's another one. Let's look at this. Okay. That's doable on these, I think. Don't you think? Yeah, that's doable. All right, so those are okay. Now, this actually is not going to be a part of the design because that doesn't have any birds on it. It's just plain, you know, that fake writing. So I'm going to set that aside. Not all of these are going to be part of it. This is so pretty. I love that little pink on there. That's really nice. Okay, so this piece, I can see that works. This little guy. It looks like most of these are going, all these are going to work. I'm going to go through them all just to make sure that they all look reasonable. And we'll have 6 of them because that's what fits. Here's one here. This one we don't need. That's not birds. Here's one here. As you can see, the ones that are smaller just have a slightly wider margin. The ones that are bigger have a slightly less margin. But so far, all of these look good. I mean, they all look passable for that. They don't look like they have any issues. Hang on, here we go. Yeah, I think all of these technically can do just fine. There's not going to be an issue with those. I wish I could do more. I'd love to have one that has like 8. You'd have to have a really, really tall. You could do it in a journal. You can definitely do it in a journal. Because a journal typically is about 8.5 inches tall. So, yeah. You could probably do that in a journal. You might get a couple more. I don't know. These are 8 inches long. So you may or may not. But it'd be fun to try. Alright. So let's take and cut these at 3 inches square. And we will work from there. That's what we did on the others. And it worked perfectly. So we'll be good with these this way. And that'll work just fine. Okay. Like that. It's a 3-inch set. And you're going to get 2 3 inches out of each of these pieces. Because your page is an 8.5 by 11. If you were using scrapbook paper, it'd be different. You would cut 3 by 3. You know, you've got a 12-inch by 12-inch, so it would be easy to get. You'll get more out of it, obviously. But you can use any paper. I kind of like using cardstock for this part of the paper. And for this piece down here, this stuff, I kind of like using a cardstock for this. Because if you play with this, or you get a kid who sees your book and suddenly decides that, wow, this is super cool to play with, and they start going back and forth and back and forth, you want this thing to be sturdy enough to hold up to that. Now, the reason I have this little cloth tab, this is a what do you call it? Sorry, the word just slipped my brain right out the window. Oh, gosh. It's a trim. But you see it with, you know, lots of different stuff. Crap. I'll think of it later. Anyway, the reason I've got the cloth top here is because, and it's a ribbon. It's right on the tip of my tongue. But the reason I've got it like that is because it'll hold up to a lot of use. Whereas if I leave just the piece of paper, it is going to get bent to smithereens by the time you've done it 10 times. You know, it's going to be bent every time you pull it. So it's good to put something to pull with on these when you're done. Okay, let's see here. Now, we've got our 3 inches there. Let's grab the other page and grab those. Because we're only getting... Go. 3 inches all the way up. I hope that y'all are having a wonderful day. And I want to encourage you, just no matter what happened over your weekend, know that this week's going to be better. It's going to be better because you're choosing to make choices for happiness. Sometimes we don't get to choose what happens to us, but we do get to choose whether or not we're going to keep our positive attitude. And it makes all the difference in the world. When your body has you're happy, your body actually leans towards healing. When you're upset all the time and you're negative all the time, your body leans towards being sick. It actually is a medical fact. As a former registered nurse, I can tell you, I have seen patients in my career who had a negative outlook on what was happening to them. And even though they should not have, they have ended up not surviving because of the negativity and the low vibration and your body can only handle so much of that, and it finally just gives in. And it's hard to deal with sometimes, I know. Trust me, been there. Still get there sometimes. Sometimes things are not easy. Life throws curveballs at you. That switch that I was telling you about earlier, I had to disconnect. My thing was something about went wrong there. Sorry. With my battery cable, I had to disconnect it because otherwise the switch just kept going off over and over and over again. This is something that is direct wired into the truck. It bypasses whatever it is that when you turn the key off makes the truck stop running. That switch is not controlled that way. It goes directly to the battery. And a few weeks ago, I went to go to the store, and when I got in the truck, I heard this clicky noise. And I was like, that sounds weird. What is that? And it was that switch. And when I went to turn the car on, it wouldn't start. It was dead as a doornail. I mean, it wouldn't even try to start. It was absolutely not doing it. And so I had to call my roadside assistance. Thank goodness for good roadside assistance. And I had to call my roadside assistance and get jumped off. And then when I went to the store, I had to climb out of the truck, go up there, pull the hood up, and disconnect it again before I went in the store, because otherwise I run the risk of it not working when I get out. And so today I did that as I went to the barn, and I disconnected it when I got to the barn and went in and spent time loving on Maggie. And it started getting dark, like it was going to have rain. And I was like, girlfriend, I got to go and fix that thing so that I can drive the truck back up to the house and be able to take off the connection again, before it rains. And so I left the barn, had to go outside and reconnect the hot battery cable. And while I was reconnecting the battery cable, my cat was big cat. He's like 15 pounds or so. His name is Crockett, and he's a good sized kitty. He is a special kitty. He is a polydactyl. I'm sorry, I'm sitting here doing this out of frame on you. I apologize. I just fixed it. And I will keep it fixed. Let me move this thing so I can have this thing up this high. He has got 6 toes on each of his feet. So his feet are so cute. They look like catcher's mitts. They're big old feet. And he's being heavy like he is, and then, having those cute little huge feet of his. Well, he was climbing around on the engine, watching what I was doing, checking it out. Just being a little, investigator and supervisor. And he disappeared, and a moment or two later, I was doing the thing. I was reconnecting the battery. I wasn't paying attention to where he was. Well, apparently he jumped up on the hood, and he brought the hood down on my head. I mean, just slammed it down right on my head. It jerked my head so hard that my front tooth actually went through the paint of the truck to the metal. I'm astounded it didn't break a tooth. But the other front tooth caught my lip, and it, puffed up really fast. So I had all that going on, and I was just it was disappointing. It hurt like crazy. I'm probably going to have a sore spot there for days, but it really was most uncomfortable. And so I was like almost in tears. It hurt so bad. And I just kind of pulled myself together and continued and finished putting the battery cable on. And then it was acting right and not making that noise anymore. So I'm taking a chance and didn't bother to redo undo the thing again. So hopefully I won't have a dead car in the morning. But, that's an opportunity. Do I want to get down and discouraged, or do I want to get up and keep going? And I decided just get up and keep going. There's not anything in the world that I can do to fix that switch. It was over $150 last year to fix it, and I do not have that right now. So all I can do is, if it keeps acting up, is take the battery cable off and put it back on every time I stop. So yeah, that's not going to be fun, but it's okay. I'm going to be all right. I will get by. And something may come up and take care of it. I don't know. I'm not worried about it. It'll be okay. I have done all that I can do, and I'm turning it over and letting the rest go. There's no point in moaning and groaning about it, because that certainly will not repair the car. So we're just going to go on, and I got to go to the grocery store tomorrow, and I got to go buy feed for the horse and some food for me and a bag of cat food for the kitties. So yeah, I'm going to go into town, do my stuff, come back home, and hopefully the truck will be okay throughout that. I am placing my confidence in the fact that it will be okay. Now, one of the things that you also do, you've got your 6 cards here. I've got my 6 cards. What you need to do is to take another one of these pieces that is the exact same size as the car. So it's 3 inches wide. Car on the brain. 3 inches wide. And you're going to make it so that it is longer than the length of this. If you see what I mean. See what I mean right here? This is longer than that piece. This is the piece that you had to start with. It was this, well, there's more underneath here, but it was, several inches long. And this whole length. So what I did was I just took one of these and I just left it the length it was, that whole big long piece. And that way I had plenty of room to figure out where my cards were going and fold it up and do all the stuff I have to do to put it together. So you're going to take your 6 pieces here. You're going to have your 6 little pieces here. Set them aside. Take your 1 big piece here. And it's the same card as this stuff is. And then this, you can set this aside still for the moment because you're not using that right now. But this is going to do something else. What you do next is, I'm going to set this right here. I have something called a scoring board. It's not real big. But what it does is you take this and you use one of a couple of different tools. You can use like this thing. This came with one of my scoring items. And you can use like this, and you measure out. There's little measurements here all the way up, starting with, I think, a 1/4 inch. And then there's a little line even there for a 1/16 inch. But they're written down 1/4 inch increments all the way up here. And it stops at, what does that say? It's hard to see. Looks like it stops at like 5.5 inches, something like that. But you can move your paper around this thing. If you're using a big paper, you just move your paper around on this thing and get the measurements you need, and it's no big deal. This tool is useful. However, remember I told you, if you get the more expensive one of these that has the replaceable, you can replace the little thingies here that cut, it comes with 2 like this, only instead of both of them cutting like these 2 do, one cuts and one scores. So if you make a little bit higher investment in getting your other, the other brand of this, you will find that instead of having to buy a scoreboard, you won't need to buy a scoreboard because you'll have a scoreboard included in your cutting board. So if I recommended one tool that you buy, I would suggest that you buy one of these that has the scoring and the cutting tools right here, so that you can get replacements for it as the cutting thing will eventually wear out. They last a long time, but they will eventually, you know, not cut as clean as they used to. And so you can order on what do you call it? Amazon. You can go on Amazon and order little packs, 2 packs. One will be, you can order 2 packs of the blade pieces. You don't really need to reorder the scoring piece. Hang on a second. I will show you the scoring piece. This is what the scoring piece looks like. Instead of having a blade there, oh, wait a minute. Is this the blade one? I apologize. This is the blade one. Here's my scoring one. See, these are the 2 pieces that came on that other one. I've kept this for reference, you know, for buying new blades. But this is the scoring one. If you look here, you'll see there's a an indentation there, a little metal piece. I don't know. I'm trying to get where I can see. Yeah, you see that little metal piece right there? Hi, Boots. You gonna help out? That little metal piece, when it comes across this board like this, you know, and the board is different, but when it comes across the board this way, it will make this little score mark that I'm about to make with this plastic thing over here. So I encourage you, if you're going to buy something, buy the one of these that has the scoring board in with it and has the cutting and scoring board in the same board, rather than working around, you know, buying 2 boards. I did 2 boards because in the beginning I didn't have much. And so as I gained the ability to get a little bit here and a little bit there, I added things. And in the course of adding things like that, I ended up with starting out with a board that didn't have the scoring function on it, because I was in a very, very, frugal place. And so I was trying to make the best use of every penny. And nobody told me about, the difference between those, and that you could get one like that and end up not having to pay for 2 different tools and only pay for 1 tool. So, yeah, I learned, and now I'm passing on to you, so you don't end up buying 2 tools instead of 1 too. Are you helping, baby? Yeah. Are you going to help, honey? Okay, so here we go. Kitty face aside. We're going to take these, the 6 of these, and we're going to, with this, we're going to do some scoring on it. And it has you doing every 1/2 inch. And you start at the top, and you score going this way, because you want it long ways. Your little hinges, you see how the hinges hook up here. The little hinges hook up this way. And they hook up down to that piece underneath. So you have to score that so they'll fit. Boots, let me move this, honey. Thank you. Sorry, babe. Let me get that out of your way. Okay, now I'm going to take this and I'm going to show you. I'm going to do a 1/2 inch, and you're going to do 6 scores. So you've got 1, and you just follow it down like that. And then you've got, excuse me, baby, I need to see. Sweetie, your tail's right in my way. I'm sorry. It's a 1/2, and then you've got 1 inch right here, and you just follow it down. And then you've got your 1/2 back, and you go to 1 1/2. So you come over 2 here, and you follow it, and you just follow it straight down. And then you go here and do another 1/2. Hang on. I'm not able to see what I'm doing very well here. Okay, got another 1/2. Come down there. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we're going to do our next 1/2. 5. And our next 1/2 will be 6. And these are easy as pie to do. So if you want to get a scoreboard, they're cool. You can also, if you're going to just use scissors, you can use a craft knife. If you've got a self-healing mat, like this, you know, or this craft mat. Mine's taped down right now. I keep it so I have my workspace in place for videoing. But if you buy a mat, you can get that and a craft knife. You know, the little utility knife like you see that, hang on, looks kind of like one of these, you know, where you go up and down and you got the little blades that come out. One of those. You can use one of these and one of these self-healing mats, and preferably a metal ruler, because it can try to dig into a plastic ruler, but a metal ruler, it'll glide right down a metal ruler and give you no trouble at all. So you can use that instead. And you can do, when you're scoring, you can also use other things to help you score. You can use a ruler and like one of these, and just mark that way with the ruler, and you can score things that way as well. So there's lots of different ways you can get around not having a scoring board. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've got 6 of these little lines, and that's what we want because we've got 6 little cards. All right, now what we're going to do next is starting to get into the putting it together. All right, before we start putting it together, no, that's all right. We can do this. You're going to come and you're going to bend it over like so at the scoring line. And then you're going to take your bone folder or this thing. This can pass for a bone folder. And you're going to make it go down real nice and tight. And then you're going to lift it back up and do the next one. So we're going to fold on the next line. And here we go. You just fold that over. It's creasing the paper so you can fold it easier. That's what you're doing when you're scoring. You're just basically training the paper to go in a particular spot. So here we go. We're going to do the next one. Like so. And we flip that around and we're going to, it's called burnishing. When you flatten down the paper that way, that's the technical term for it, is burnishing. So if you hear somebody on a video saying, you know, doing something like this, and they're saying, okay, you're going to burnish this, and, you know, anybody that I actually used to do typesetting and layout for a company that did, a printing company many years ago, and so I learned some of this there, and I do have a few tools that, you know, that you would use in a actual typesetting and layout thing. Because back when I was doing it, you didn't do it on the computer. There was a computerized thing that you used to type out the typeset, but you had to replace in the machine. It was a huge machine, and you had to open it up and go in and take out a what they called a font. And you pulled out this, it was a big round disc thing, and you undid the center and pulled it out and then put in another one and put it back in. And then you would type, and it would go with that font, and it would print out this paper tape thing. And then it would also print out the paper that you used to do the layout. And that paper was really cool. It was a paper that you were able to work with it with wax to put things in place. And it was just a warm wax that you used. And there was like master boards, and you would lay out the text. The master boards were outlined you outlined them for whatever size article or, you know, production that you were making, however big it was. And then you would lay out your columns of type and put in your photos and all that kind of stuff. And you did it all manually by hand. And if you had to do a correction, sometimes you would very carefully, with a very sharp blade, on an X-Acto blade, you would cut out that one letter and replace it with a letter that was the right letter for it. So it was really cool. I loved doing that. I had a lot of fun at it. And, okay, so now we've got all of these bent like this. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take, where's my little pages? These little guys. We're going to take these little guys. Where's the rest of them? Oh, they're under there. They're hiding. Hang on. Yeah, got to move this out of the way because they're hiding. Move the puppy over. All right, so now you've got these papers, and what you're going to do, excuse me, sweetheart, I got to move your tail. I'm sorry. What you're going to do is, you see this little fold? this little fold is going to very carefully be attached right here with this little square piece of paper. You want it to line up correctly. You want it to line up lengthwise so that things stay in a line, and you want it to be aligned up here at the top as well. So it's really important that this is the only part where it's like, it's really important that you get this lined up correctly. But this is what you're going to do. And what you do is you come here and you put down some glue on this. You don't want to put down a ton of glue. You want to get it around the edges and just a little in the middle. You don't want to have tons of glue sitting there going around because you don't want it to come squeezing out. This is something, you know, you got to keep clean. So you just put a light amount of glue, and more just a light amount, not squeezing it hard, just a light amount all the way around there. Then you take this, sorry glue, you would take this and you lay this down, and like I showed you before, you lay this right on top, and before you smush it flat, you pick it up and you tap it into place here, you know, so that it's in the right place there, and then you align it here so that it lines up correctly here as well. Hang on, let me line that back up. And that way, you see, you can see here, it's a little bit over, so you need it to come down some. So before you squish it flat, you're going to gently push it down some so that it's aligned properly. Then you make sure that it's aligned lengthwise here and that it's not sticking out somehow inappropriately. Tap it again just to make sure. And now you're ready to actually squish that and make sure it's down good. But this is how you start. And then you come down again on the next one, like so. And you glue this little bit here and your next sheet on top of it. And it was going to be this little bit. If you want to, you can burnish that again a little to make it where it's comfy. Am I in frame? Okay, I'm sorry. I'm trying to make sure I stay in frame. Because this is actually what I ought to do is just move the camera over this way a little bit. There now, that's better. That helps. All right, so what we'll do is take this, make sure that it aligns up properly. Ah, crud. That's out of alignment now. Hang on, what did I do wrong? Because something is out of alignment. If you notice, that came down and it doesn't look right. Okay, so we're going to make sure what this is. I think this is when it folded off just a little bit. I need it to be flat. And if you can see, it's flat here, but there's a little bit of a bubble there. So I need it to line up here. We're going to hold it straight there, make sure it's flat there, and then we are going to press it down here because we need it to flatten out and do it correctly. There you go. Let's see if that worked. That's better. It's not perfect, but it is better. And I want to try to get it as close to right as I can. And now that'll work. Okay, so that one's put on there. Now we are ready to put the next one on. And then we're going to bend it down again. And put the next one on. Okay, I think I'm doing this right. Hang on a half a second. Let me go and verify with that video. On here. Hey, guys, I'm so sorry. My phone died and I didn't realize it, so it quit. And so I had to go put it on the charger. And it's considering it's already 11:30 Sunday night when I'm getting to actually try to finish this, I am going to cut this into a part 2 because there's still quite a bit yet to finish this, and I don't want it to be rushed, and I don't want it to be a 2-hour-long video. So we're going to have Mayday Monday this week, part 1, and then Mayday Monday the next week, part 2. And because this is a way fun and gorgeous effect, and I want you to be able to know how to do it so that when you're doing your little books, you're going to have awesome things to put in there. It's not going to be some plain little thing with just a few tucks and pockets. It's going to be something with some seriously beautiful skills. And there are some beautiful skills that we're going to get into after we finish up with these little pockets even. I have got something really, really cute that's coming down the pike after we finish with these. And this is it. It's just adorable, isn't it? Comes in all shapes and sizes. And I'm going to teach you how to make that after we get done with making our waterfalls. So Anyway, I am going to put this all together and get it out online to post in the morning. And then we will do part 2 during the week this week. And it'll be ready to fly and be awesome. I will go through with you the things that we missed. I did something a little bit out of order. I put these down on that long sheet before I put the birds on the thing. And that's not the correct order to do them in. You need to put the birds down on, your pictures down on these little 3-inch squares before you go putting the 3-inch squares on the big long piece. It makes it a lot easier. So live and learn. Like I said, this is only my second one of these I'm doing, so I'm learning and it'll be fun. I might actually throw together another one, get us unmade to that point for next week, but we still got to finish putting together the mechanism that makes all of this work, and then getting it all secured and in place. And I'd rather do that on a video next week, along with maybe something, a little something extra too. And because I want this to be so much fun. I want this book to be an absolute delight. And that when you show it to people, you'd be like, look what I did. I have never done this before in my life, and look what I did. And it'd be something that they just look at and their jaw will drop open. Because you can do that. And there's so many cool things that you can do. Just be rummaging around in your house for little supplies and things that you might be interested in. Everything from papers to fabric to, if you got some old clothes in the closet you're not going to wear anymore, don't throw them out. Salvage them. Look at what you can find. I have got actually an old shirt that I picked up at a thrift store, and it has the coolest lace all over the outside of it. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I can totally do something with this lace. So I got it for all but free. And, you know, it was a very much out of style shirt, but the lace on it is absolutely gorgeous. And if I recall, it may have had some buttons on it that were cute too. So, you know, when you find things, look around before you put it in the trash. Search through it. If you've got a tablecloth, or if you've got a sheet or bedspread or pillowcase, that kind of thing, that maybe it's gotten messed up and you were going to throw it away, don't throw it away. Hold on to it. Set it aside. Tuck it in with your little crafting stuff, because we use fabric to cover journals with. Our journals, hang on a second, let me reach over here. I got a kitty in my lap. Oh, sorry about the shirt. But I want you to see this. When we make actual big journals, you know, books that we make from scratch, these things, hang on, I got a Ziploc bag being contrary here. Come on, you open up. Then when we make these, we use fabric of all different kinds. Isn't that pretty? This is another one that's got autumn leaves on it. So, you know, we use all different kinds of fabric. So if you've got an old shirt or an old something, you know what's really cool? Some of your kids' old clothes that you know, maybe they got stains on them or whatever, and you wouldn't want to give them away, but part of the shirt is perfectly good. Hang on to that stuff. The shirts, the pants, the cute little things that you want to remember, the little pants with the cute pockets on them. Hang on to those things. We're going to make something cool with them, because there's a dozen different things that you can make that will make that a memory that you can keep with you, and you can tell your kids about it when they grow up, and you can tell your grandkids about it, and they can tell their grandkids about it too. It'll just be, you know, it's treasures. These things that we make are not just something to occupy their time or your time. They're things that you can turn into beautiful family heirlooms and treasures with the things that you put inside of them. This book is partially decorated, and you can see it's got all kinds of stuff in it. There's just a lot of stuff in here, and there's some things in here that are really old. There's some, this has got kind of a touch of a boating flair to it, and like there's all different kinds of things, postcards. This thing, like this is part of an article from a sailing thing out of a 1930 something Life magazine. I mean, these are things that, you know, I just pull things from all different places. This is part of a little doll pattern for a doll that is a mermaid. So, yeah, You know, just part of the different things. This is a little handmade small file folder. Just all kinds of stuff in here. This is a particularly cute page. I put some lace in here with some extra trims on the lace. And that made a pretty page. Oh, this is a pretty page here. Same thing. This has got, this is just a decorated page. It has lace on it, a beautiful picture of some shells, little bits of trim, button, just things that just make a lovely page out of it. Not every page has to have something written on it or something saved on it. Sometimes it's pretty just to decorate the page for what it is, you know, and make it something very special. But yeah, I mean, you're going to make things that will be full of stuff that is meaningful to you and to your families and other people. And you'll enjoy being able to, you're a mermaid, you'll be able to enjoy sharing them with your family, and just really enjoy them. Have a good time. I thought I had a piece of paper in here. Here we go. This is actually quite special. This page comes, this is just the string in the way there, but this is a koi. It was out of a coloring book, and it's a beautiful koi. And I put that in the middle, because this is kind of a water-related journal. And so that's my, you know, a lot of times I'll put that in the centers. And yeah, just all kinds of beautiful things. All these old shell pages and pictures are from a 1950-something golden book shell, you know, like seashore things you find at the seashore. This is part of the blueprint for a sailboat. Talk about cool. Yeah, it's part of an actual blueprint for a boat. See? Combination rowing, sailing, and outboard boat. And this is the part of the actual blueprint for it. Just cool pieces of history that I find here and there. You just never know where you find them at. I've had people send me old college yearbooks from various places and things. Just wonderful stuff that you can work with. And, you know, you enjoy these things. They're here for a joy and a delight. Usually by the time I'm done decorating one, it's sitting out like this. It's huge. Because there's so many things that you like to place in there and invest in them and just make them beautiful. So that one I haven't started decorating yet. But anyway, I'm going to sign off for tonight, and we'll finish this thing up next week. And relax and start gathering the pieces that you need to be able to make this. And let's make one. I'll go back through the instructions again, and you can look through the video again to see the instructions on how you make it. And I hope that you will enjoy it, and I hope you have a wonderful Mayday Monday, and that you have a great week. And I'm thinking of y'all until then. All right, see y'all next week. Love you guys. Bye.